More now, we can talk to our diplomatic affairs editor, Mark Perelman, who is on set with me. Mark, first of all, just give us your thoughts on the resignation of the Prime Minister just hours after we heard those comments from the Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani.
Yes, the writing was on the wall as soon as the Grand Ayatollah spoke in very clear terms about the need for a new government. He had already issued a few warnings since the violence began on October 1st, leading to over 400 dead and counting. But today, clearly, he said we need to change government. And we knew the Prime Minister was about to resign. The only question was when. And he announced today through a statement that he will formally submit his resignation to Parliament after a year only in power, and after it took months for all the coalition blocs to agree on his name. And so clearly this is a new era of uncertainty, and it's a likelihood that a new compromise candidate will take a long time to emerge, because clearly what has happened has rattled all the political elite in Iraq, and no one can tell today what will happen next.
You say no one can tell what will happen next, but give us a sense of what you think will happen in the streets. Is this likely to quell some of that anger that we've seen for 2 months now?
Well, the initial reports, and those are very early reports, there were some scenes of joy in Tahrir Square in Baghdad, which was clearly one of the symbolic places for this protest movement that has been there for several weeks. What's really interesting is that a lot of the unrest came from Shia strongholds, and a lot of unrest was also directed against Iran. And so clearly this is a setback for Iran. The Prime Minister was seen as favorable to Iran. He was also seen as someone the West, and first and foremost the US, could deal with. But we've seen protests directed against Shia party and Shia militias aligned with Tehran. So clearly this is not a good sign for Tehran. We saw the consulate in Najaf being assaulted just a couple of days ago, and it was not the first time. The question is whether Iran will be able to wield its influence for the next prime minister. And clearly this will be a battleground behind the scenes, hopefully, and not in the streets, between Washington and Tehran. And who will win is not likely to be a compromise candidate between both capitals, like it has been the case with this prime minister and the two previous ones.
All right, Mark, and just very briefly, it is your sense then that this is likely to be quite a drawn-out process to select a new prime minister?
Yes, it could be. I mean, we've seen this happen in Lebanon, and it takes weeks because there's a political deadlock, and there's no clear majority, and there's unrest in the street, and social demands have to be met. And so it's a social, economic, political crisis. You put all this together in a region where there's a lot of turmoil, and it's impossible just with a magic wand to find a very quick and easy solution.
Mark Perelman, our diplomatic affairs editor, thank you very much indeed for sharing your analysis on the programme, on that breaking news that Iraq's Prime Minister has announced his resignation this afternoon. Let's move on now, though, and bring you some other